Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Great news! I can finally use my mic in videos. That means better explanations, clearer guides and hopefully a more engaging experience for you. So what's today's topic? Well, I'm kicking off a brand new series where I break down attack patterns and strategies to help you dominate in battles. And don't worry, a defense focus series is also on the way. Without wasting any more time, let's jump right in. In the first episode, I will be covering 3 key attack patterns that I personally use in battles. First up, the wave attack. The wave attack works just like its name suggests. You split your army into multiple lines and send them in one after another. This tactics puts constant pressure on the enemy, making it difficult for them to recover. If your opponent doesn't respond correctly, their forces will likely break and retreat under the relentless assault. In a wave attack, you will often have some of your infantry up front, acting as a front line to absorb damage and engage the enemy, while your wave attack focuses on one of the flanks. This creates a dynamic and unpredictable force that can overwhelm the enemy defenses. Using this approach, you can even set up a pincer formation, striking from both the front and the flank, putting the enemy in a vulnerable position where they will have to fight on multiple fronts. How to execute a wave attack properly? It's quite simple. The key is deciding how many waves you want to send. Ideally, this should consist of line infantry or cuirassiers, units that can absorb damage and disrupt enemy lines. Follow up with guards and light infantry. Guards provide superior firepower and morale, while skirmishers harass and weaken enemy formations. Always finish with lancers, fast shock cavalry that can break what's left of the enemy and force a full retreat. If you only send 2 waves, you will use fewer troops, but the attack will have less overall impact. On the other hand, sending more than 3 waves can be risky. You might spread your forces too thin, making it harder to keep the enemy under control. Key tip for success. For a wave attack to work, you need to distract enemy forces so they can't send reinforcements. Engage them elsewhere or use feints to keep them occupied, while your waves crash into their lines. The pincer movement is most effective if the enemy can't respond to both fronts quickly. Next, we have a variation of the oblique order. The oblique order is classic tactic, but in this variation, instead of focusing on one flank, we stack our forces in the center to break through and split the enemy army in 2. By concentrating firepower at a single point, we create a gap in their lines, forcing them to react. If they fail to do so properly, their army becomes divided and disorganized, making it easier to defeat them in detail. How to execute this attack? First wave, start with line infantry and guards in the center. The goal is to push hard and disrupt enemy formations with concentrated musket fire. Second wave, use line infantry as skirmishers to weaken enemy troops before the breakthrough or to cover the flanks as your main forces advance. Final strike. Once the enemy line begins to break, send in cuirassiers or lancers to exploit the gap and split their army in 2, preventing them from regrouping. Unlike the wave attack, it will be much harder to organize 3 distinct lines in this situation. Since you're focusing on a single breakthrough point rather than attacking in waves, you will need to commit your forces more aggressively and adapt quickly. Key tips for success. Army balance is crucial. Unlike the wave attack, where you can afford some miscalculations, an incorrect division of your army in this strategy can have devastating consequences. If you commit too many troops to the breakthrough, your flanks will be exposed. if you hold too many in reserves, you may fail to break the enemy line. Timing and positioning are everything. Hit hard, hit fast, and once their forces are split, don't let them regroup. And finally, the mass cavalry hit and run tactic. In the mass cavalry hit and run tactics, the main goal is to use your infantry as solid front to hold the enemy attention, while your cavalry maneuvers around to find the weak spots and strike at the enemy weakest units, particularly artillery. How to execute the hit and run tactic? Position your line infantry at the front to engage and hold the enemy attention. They will act as a distraction, creating a solid defense that holds the enemy in place and prevents them from shifting focus. Think of them as living wall, absorbing enemy fire and engagement. While the infantry holds the front, split your cavalry into smaller units, focusing on hussars and lancers. These mobile forces will move around the enemy flanks, searching for weak spots or gaps in their formation. The goal is to outmaneuver the enemy, find exposed artillery, or target isolated enemy units. Once your cavalry locates an exposed target, such as enemy artillery or weakened flank, they strike swiftly, using their speed and shock value to disrupt the enemy. After the strike, the cavalry should quickly disengage and reposition, avoiding prolonged engagements and keeping the enemy off balance. The most important thing in this strategy is timing. If you mismanage when to strike or retreat, your cavalry could become trapped or fail to capitalize on weaknesses. The infantry must hold long enough to create the necessary distraction, while the cavalry needs to wait for the perfect opportunity to strike. Always keep in mind that quick and decisive action is a key. Strike, break the enemy, then withdraw before they can regroup and counter your forces. And that wraps up today's video. Hopefully these attack strategies gave you some useful insights into how to approach battles and how you can adapt your tactics for different situations. Remember, every battle is unique, and sometimes you will need to switch things up based on what the enemy throws at you. Also, keep in mind that these strategies can be used in various ways beyond what I showed here today. For example, while wave attack is typically used on the flanks, it can also be employed up front. However, if you do this, you will need to be extra cautious of heavy artillery fire, which can easily decimate your waves if you aren't careful. The same goes for the other tactics. They are flexible, and part of mastering them is knowing how to adjust in the heat of the moment. One last thing. Artillery is key to supporting your infantry and should always be integrated into your strategies. Properly positioned artillery can give your infantry the support they need to hold the line while you execute your maneuvers. Whether it's breaking the enemy with a wave attack, creating a breakthrough with a Oblique order, or disrupting their enemy lines with hit and run cavalry tactics, make sure your artillery is well protected and closely coordinated with your main forces to maximize its effectiveness. Let me know in the comments which attack strategy you like the most, or if there is one you would like me to cover in more detail. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more battle strategies, including an upcoming series on defensive tactics. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.